6:38, I'd like to call this Ripon Area Fire District budget workshop meeting to order. Gary, Paige,
Here.
Jolene Chassinger here.
Jolene, Howard,
Yep.
Jim,
Yep, here.
Barry is missing, and Ben, right?
And Ben's on his way.
Also, Chief Stahl is here. Okay, I'd like to get a motion to approve the agenda. Oh, also,
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
thank you. Doesn't look like we have any public comment unless you guys have something.
Need to vote on the approval of the agenda.
Oh, okay, sorry. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. No public comment. Budget planning. I think we're waiting on Chief for that, right?
Yeah, there's only a couple of areas that went up from last year though, so budget's gonna stay pretty well flat.
Yeah, basically looking at it, nothing's really changed. It's
No.
really, I don't want to say stagnant, I don't know if that's the right term, but it's a true, accurate, no fluff budget.
Yep.
I guess, I know,
$3,600 increase from last year.
and I believe he has a new one for tonight with a little bit of switch to that, with some bookkeeping and things like that, I think he'll
Right.
hand out. But otherwise, the key is we don't have $100,000 at the end of the year. We don't have 100,000 less.
Yeah.
We've really strived over the last,
Five,
what do you want
6
to
years?
call it?
5, 6
5
years?
years,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd say a good 5 years to really make a true and accurate budget, and it's gotten there. The only negative side that I could ever see in this is that we don't have a capital replacement fund put in
Mhm.
there. But again, that's where we go back to municipalities when we need something, urgent, life shattering. Otherwise, pretty much everything's the same, costs are the same, testing's all the same as we've always had to do.
Mhm.
A big cost savings to the district where possibly this could have skyrocketed is with the rapid response vehicle. Chief may go more into that, but the number and percentage of the calls that handles really takes off our part-time salaries. Or this budget could be quite a bit more if we didn't have. So we've always talked about spending the money on 51 versus spending it elsewhere. It's really saved.
Not only on the salaries, but also on
Wear and tear on the other
Where
vehicles.
it's right there, thank you. So, I know Chief and I talked about it, we're talking like probably 40% savings in part-time salaries. Big time savings with the rapid response, being able to go to those kind of calls.
I'm sorry, I came in late.
Basically just going over the budget, going, not a lot's changed, nothing really, ladder testings, truck maintenance, all those things that happen every year. I mean, knock on wood, we didn't have anything overly catastrophic this year besides the boiler, I guess would probably be the biggest thing, and that was even thought of next, we knew that was coming.
Mhm.
No engine.
And that was planned for.
Yes, that was
Right.
So, like you said about the rapid response vehicle, we are, to date, to date when this report was done, we're a little bit more now, but we're 24 calls ahead of where we were last year, okay? So we are we'll probably be ahead of, because we haven't even reached our busy winter months yet. But I'm pretty confident that we haven't done a lot of public education. We've saved money there. We saved money in the rapid response. Our like Jim, I think he was just saying it'd be about 40%. higher if we didn't have the rapid response truck, because that's saving so much money. The engine, I think you guys saw it on the monthly report, that rapid response handled well more than half of the calls by itself. The addition, change in response that we're planning now is even gonna cut that down a little bit more, manpower wise, money wise. So, and that's not why we're changing operations, we're still doing safe operations, it's just, we've learned and,
More efficient.
you know, to be more efficient, that's exactly it. So, I'm confident that this budget, is true and needed without any other things.
I have one question. Just looking at the retirement,
Mm-hmm.
what was for the 2020 budget and the 2021 budget,
Mm-hmm.
you got an increase of $422.
Correct.
That don't look like $422. It's only like less than $100.
$100.
It's like $70.
Oh. That's a good catch. Yeah, that'll change a little bit.
So
My-
786.
My glasses broke on the last call I was on, so,
You just can't
Right,
see with the mask
33.
on anyway.
right?
Well, it doesn't change totals, it just changes that year-over-year decrease, increase.
I'm sorry, Chip.
So it won't change the totals, it would just be the column for the increase, decrease.
Yep.
It's like $69.
Did you data fill that, or do you have that as a formula?
Did I what?
Did you type that in, or do you have
Yes.
that as a formula?
Yeah, I typed it in, that was my mistake, but it's a good catch, thank you.
So Jim, you're saying the 3651 is still accurate? The total increase for the budget for 2021?
I was referring to the total, the 472, 820. I don't think that's, the final number you have there isn't right either.
No, the final number's not right,
Okay.
but I will adjust that.
The totals is from
The
the
420.
column, that'll all fill.
Okay.
The 422 is what I got from Bart.
Okay, so is one or the other number different then, or
I'll have to double check the total.
so just start that line and,
I'm guessing that, it's the 78, it's an additional, the 7866
that's, yeah.
would be a 422 on top of that.
So the 7933 would be wrong then.
What's the number? 80? 8,000 somewhere.
What number did Barb give you for the retirement? The 7933?
What's that?
8288.
Correct.
8288.
Yep, that's what I got.
Okay, hold on. It depends.
Right.
If the
Depends.
increase is 422, but we actually, is it going off the budget or the actual from last year?
It's,
So the 422 may be the correct increase to 7933 if the actual cost this year wasn't 7866.
Oh,
If she's using true cost. So is it the
Let me-
cost from
let me
this
look.
year or the budgeted?
let me look back.
You know what I mean? Because it's one or the other. I don't remember seeing anything for that, chief, sorry.
I'm looking at my emails here. Let me look at that.
aerial x-ray, is that due this year?
Should be. I believe so, Gary. Memory serves me.
I'll have to look into that and get back to you on that.
So basically, it's kind of a budget draft, I would say, we're gonna look at it, kind of play with it, for all of us to kind of get a first glance and go, oh my God, what are the changes? Usually there's a lot more, to be honest, with you, a lot more greens and reds and all that over the years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So usually it's a lot more conversation,
Yeah, it is.
because nothing really is changing. Now, again, this was the most recent one that we got, the other one, we'll work on, things like that. So bookkeeping services, that main change there is because we had it with the city, and now with Bard on this, I don't want to say on the side.
Independent.
Independent, thank you. That's where that comes into
Yep.
play. But again, there was additional costs with that move, but still way cheaper than if we would have went to a third-party
Yeah.
accounting firm. Way cheaper. Way cheaper.
She's still able to use through the
Mhm.
city, right?
Correct, because of an agreement we have with the city to still use that program. And I know for myself, and I think I'll speak for Chief on this one, is that it's been nothing but a seamless progression all year. It's like a split. I know the way I deal with her, the way Tim does. It's like nothing's different. Just a matter where I talk to her, how I talk to her, it's the only difference.
Right, it's like she's still at City Hall, so.
Can you explain to me a little history there, though, so the city did not, what made us move to?
Barb was treasurer for the city, so basically, when she retired, she now does it on.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. She subcontracts,
And because she was familiar with this, we thought
Yep.
it's best to stay with her.
and she did an excellent
And-
job, so.
And the new, they were not gonna allow us at the city to use the replacement.
That's what I
to-
wondered.
To do that.
Yeah. So we came out ahead because we were able to use the existing software and have somebody that has the knowledge to do it and knows what our needs are, so.
Versus going to a Shank or whatever
Mhm.
it's called now, sorry. but
Yeah.
Shank or somebody
Or
for
you-
twice as much.
Yep.
Got it.
Huberty, Shank, we had.
And the cost of the software was huge.
The cost of the software was major. It was that much, if I remember right, just for the software.
Go ahead, you get something else to ask?
Well, no, I just mean, so the person before was able to handle that, but the new person with the city responsibilities thought that it was
Mhm.
too much to handle?
From what I understand, it was supposed to be a temporary thing in the beginning,
Right,
anyway,
and it
correct?
just kept
Oh.
going on.
Okay.
So it was supposed to be
Okay.
temporary, the city was gonna do it temporary when the fire district was formed,
Okay,
but it was just, they never, had a reason to change. Well, when the new person came on, that was one less thing they would have to teach a new person, and one less thing that person would have to do.
okay.
Barb,
And the consolidation of duties downtown as well. The plate was fuller.
That's what I wondered right there, okay.
the what?
The new job duties and descriptions were fuller,
Got it,
time-wise,
okay. Thank you.
things like that.
Yeah.
Are there, I didn't look over the capital improvements. Is there any plans for a vehicle next year?
I put it in the budget, for capital with, that we would, in a capital improvements plan that Barry and I worked on, there's a new engine for next year, 2021, 22, so somewhere in there. And again, that rapid response, vehicle has bought us a lot of time, and we don't wanna get into a predicament where we're gonna be, now all of our engines are 30, 35 years old, and now we're in a bind. So,
So as far as for our municipalities, we should just go up to capital improvements
yes,
and to try and plan?
I will make sure you have the updated capital improvements, but you should have that. I think my plan would be on that is to start speccing in 2020, and then end of 2020, and then purchase in 2021, just because it takes, it takes months to be able to spec something out like that, and then build time on top of that. And familiar with when we bought the ladder truck, I mean, it doesn't happen overnight, so.
And we'll explore the financing options at that point too.
Yeah, and, manufacturer options.
Mhm.
There's a lot of manufacturer options out there nowadays, so.
How does it work?
If you got questions, ask.
Yeah, thank you. How does it work if, let's say there's a different fire district somewhere in the country that is selling something that you think, I would want this. It would be a significant amount of money. It's not formally in the budget because you wouldn't have known it existed. But let's say it seems to make sense that this would be something that would fit into your plan for the department here, maybe a year earlier than what you thought. How does that work? How does that process potentially work?
Well, for example, the ladder truck.
Any large capital, it wouldn't matter if it's this year, if we're
Yeah.
planning for it, any large capital would all be the same. Go ahead.
No, it's, for example, the ladder truck, obviously when you buy used, you could be buying somebody else's problems, and we're spending that much money, we wanna make sure you get what you pay for kind of thing. But the ladder truck, that, actually there was a demo, ladder truck, a chassis that was being built already. So because we decided to go with a demo and not do the whole spec out thing, it saved us time and it saved us money. And that was something that was, hey, they have this chassis, it meets our needs, we kind of need to move now, or we're gonna be waiting another, a year or more. And then we're gonna have to spec something out. So it saved us time and saved us money. We're always looking for things like that, but realistically, like the engine we would get, we've pushed that off a few years now. But, yeah, we're gonna have to look for something. But we would spec it out, because it's gotta meet our needs. Somebody else's engine isn't set up the same way. Doesn't have the pumping capacity that we need for our ladder truck, for example. So to supply our ladder truck, there's a lot of things that go into that, but, to answer your question, yes, we're always, if
Well,
something
The
were to come up.
financing side, I guess maybe is more what you're asking, how
Yeah.
we get the money.
Yeah,
The
how
money
does that
we go
work for
back to-
us?
We go back to the municipalities based on the 5-year cost share analysis. There's a 5-year average, we're working on it, we're trying to get the numbers here yet, from one of the assessors, so, I'll get to it to you as soon as I can, and based on that 5 years, it's based on 76%, 26%, 5%, different municipalities have different ratios. We would go back to the municipality for that large vehicle. Like for instance, if an engine went out right now,
Yeah.
an entire engine, 10 grand, to replace the engine. We don't have that, well, we do, but if we didn't have it in capital, we'd go back and say, we need 7,600 from the city, we need 2,600 from the town, and we need 600 from them. And it's a matter of each municipality can decide to borrow off their general levy. They can finance it through last time we did a lease agreement, through Pierce. Or if they have cash reserves, they can go into that as well. So it's all a matter of if they have capital replacement or we have capital and how to go. Every municipality is different. But we decide here if we want it, and then we have to go back to municipalities and ask for the money.
And that's what we do with the Interpacks.
And the municipalities can say no.
Got
Yeah.
it. That's helpful. And I guess, and there's nothing else we would do in the budget right now to plan for something like that.
No, we're limited to, without having to go back to municipalities, we're limited to a 5% increase per year,
Got it.
state mandate.
Yep.
Law, mandate, levy law, if you
Yeah.
will.
5%? Wasn't it 3 used to be 3, wasn't
Five.
And I think it's been.
Yeah, it's all.
Been 5 for quite a while.
it? For the fire district.
Yeah.
As far as I,
Yeah.
Because I think on municipalities, it's 3%.
Might be, see if it goes up,
You can go up 3% without having to go to a referendum.
Referendum.
Like, it's based on improvements, net new construction, there's a whole ratio built in there. It's not just a flat versus, but you can increase it for cost analysis or inflationary, but there's also
in one
your
year,
levies based on the amount of improvements in.
one year it only went up like 4.7, the budget,
Correct.
but the city's valuation had gone way down and the towns had gone up, so the town of Ripon was over what
The change.
the change was, so then we had to knock it back down. Or,
All municipalities need to be under the 5%.
so,
Or we have to go back again for that extra approval, basically. We can approve it based on anything under 5 per each municipality, to what Gary's saying. That's why we always try to keep a little cushion in there. Obviously, this year, there's nothing. I mean, when you really look at a budget like what we have, you know, 1%. I mean,
Pretty good job, chief.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah, I mean, it's a ever-evolving process. We can't predict. I know I talk to Chief about this a lot. We can't predict that catastrophic thing. You know, we're planning for it, but we're not. You know, and that's where we go back to municipalities and contingency funds, and you can see we do have some in here. That's why it's important that we always hold on to that as long as we can, just in case. Catastrophic event, Main Street fire, those things cost us a lot of money.
Even a Jackson Street house fire, you know, even a house fire. I mean, you may not be that catastrophic one that we had last year or downtown fire, but if we have, you know, we had one year where, I think it was last year, we had, you know, four legitimate house fires in 2 months, you know, or less. And so you just never know when that's gonna happen. So it doesn't have to be a huge catastrophic, it could be many small things too.
There's so many other things in here that are regimented every year, from ladder testing
Right.
to maintenance to association dues that we're part of to conferences. You know, a lot of those things are regimented and set. There is no fluff, there is no nothing in there, that's just what they cost, so.
And, you know, turnout gear, we just had turnout gear measurements done. You know, that's gonna be $12,000, $10,000. It's already built in the budget, so that's not something I would come back to the board for. But when you see it, you're gonna be like, oh my God, $10,000. It's in the budget, it's right here. It's
Sure.
already budgeted for, so.
So I think, obviously, Tim will get this upgraded and updated with the correct numbers for the retirement plan and everything else there. The other thing I'd like to see is with the year-to-date, maybe on here, if we can get that in there somehow, just so they're aware of what we're actually spending, you know.
Because then some of the stuff like the supplies, like bottled water and Gatorade and stuff for fire calls and stuff like that. I know if it's a big one, a lot of businesses kick in and donate,
Yeah,
but just was wondering how we are. You got $1,300 in there for that, and I know I see it pretty regular on
The monthlies.
yes, and so I just wanted, I guess I'm curious to see how close.
and people do donate for that type of stuff, but we, you know, we don't wait for that to happen, and we just purchase it out of the budget. I mean, we just bought a pallet of water from Ace Hardware, had a pallet of water. We got a deal on it, we just purchased it. You know, we can't wait for that, but,
Right.
and there are some line items that, you know, might go over or whatever, but at the end of the day, the bottom line number, you know, I don't wanna say never go under that, but, or over that, but we did one year by, I think, within a few $100s.
Couple
But other than that, we've always been under the budget, even $1 under the budget. So, but, yeah, I'll get the year-to-date budget.
I'm kind of nervous about like alliances.
About what?
Alliance Energy,
Mhm.
you know, we getting that pretty close, or, 'cause I know that can really,
It varies,
yeah.
it varies, I mean, up and down, so,
So we're budgeting
And-
16,000 for
sorry. Okay. But in your copy of your report, it says year-to-date, and it gives the line items, so it kind of tells you where we're at. So, and then it gives you the percentage of budget left, so that's, you know, that's basically the same thing you're asking for is right there, so. Hi.
I appreciate what you said of buying water at Ace. Yeah, I know that your heart is supporting local, and here it's an example of it. You purchase local when you can, when it makes sense.
When we can.
When it makes sense.
Those are the people that can help us out.
Exactly.
So chief will send that out. I'll try to get with that as well, the 5-year cost share then, so we can get the new pretty one, and then I'll have a better breakdown where we're at, so we can go back to our municipalities and what that change will be. Because it's gonna be based not only on this, but also on the 5-year average. You know, depending where we're at with that ebb and flow, if you will.
And especially now, I look at that budget, you know, every week or two, I'm looking at that budget going, okay, well, we're, how much here, how much there, and then, you know, and I'm pretty confident that this is it's a good budget. There's no reason to raise anything that, unless we have to.
Well,
Yeah.
you've done a good job sticking within the budget.
Thank you. And if, you know, again, like Jim said, nothing to say we're not gonna go over it at the last minute because of something. But,
We're sure gonna try not to. I mean, I've been on this board when the budget was all shot. That's really tough taking it back to the municipalities, because that's where the money's going.
Yeah.
Middle of the year, or November, hey, we can't run anymore because we're out of money. So the municipalities have to fork it up or shut it down, whatever we choose, but that's not a good sell.
well, and some, you know, some chiefs that I work for, some chiefs, hey, you know, let's spend it because if it's, you know, if we don't spend it, we're not gonna get any more, you know what I mean? And I don't work that way, so.
I don't see a new budget item here for, so you must have been able to find it with your current maybe miscellaneous or, but for example, with COVID right now, you know, the mask, the extra hand sanitizer, when we came in, for everyone to know, we had our temperature check, thank you. Is there anything that needs to be increased? I mean, if this next year, we need to continue with these.
No, I think we're pretty good with that. The county, you know, we're not responding to EMS calls. We very limited. So we're using a limited number of PPE, which would be covered in our budget, number one. Number two is, for the amount we're using, the county is very good about emergency management supplying us with what we need. And so I did think about that. That's really not gonna be an issue at this point. You know, if we were going on ambulance calls every day, that would be different, but.
We do have,
But
So,
we're not.
what is that new, you know, is that the but-for act or but-for clause where because of this COVID, you could apply and get money from the state? You guys must have been able to do that.
you mean
For the COVID, for
Yeah.
extra sanitation or stuff to help people?
there is some grants for that, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's some agencies out there that will, if you request, they'll send you masks and that stuff at no cost.
Well, that's
But
where,
I mean, for extra cleaning, like
Mhm.
for voting, you know, to do extra sanitation, you could get extra money that you didn't have budgeted. You
Mhm.
could apply to
So-
the
so
state.
we're-
It has to be done by November, end of November.
Yeah.
so, I guess talk about that a little bit. The direction is we're not getting money, we're getting supplies. So through the county emergency management in Fond du Lac County, Winnebago County, because we do cover Winnebago County, so we belong to their association also. So if we're in need of something, like right now, I'm gonna ask for a box of N95 masks, okay? We only need one box. We don't need what an ambulance service might use at 10 boxes. And that we get through emergency management through the county, so.
Some of that's municipality based versus district. There again, there's different rules and restrictions of what a district can do versus municipality.
And first responder versus the city.
I just
municipal.
wondered if there was ever brought up to you guys.
I believe that was at staff level, you guys even went over that downtown.
No, I don't,
You guys had that discussion at staff level, I think.
yeah, we always talk about needed supplies and stuff like that, but like, so if we need an N95 mask, I contact our county chief liaison, who's handling all that. I just put a request in for masks, and actually, I just got a box in my car, and, I take that back, the box in the car came from EMS. EMS has other supplies also, so they help us out, give us supplies, and then if not, I put it through the county, and the county calls and sends a sheriff out here with the stuff.
Is there anything else we need to go over on the budget as it is drafted up here?
thing will be a reminder that we're gonna have to have a public hearing then on it before it was approved, so that does have to be posted. And I'll remind Barry, and you'll remind Barry. We do have to post that 14 days, 15 days, sorry, 14 or 15
14
days
days.
before the meeting. I think it's 14. We have to have that posted before the November meeting, so most likely, what we've always done is have a special budget hearing, 6:30 in November, and then a
Regular meeting after.
So do we wanna just schedule it for that meeting then, right now, or?
That's what we've always done, so I don't know why.
Yeah.
we wouldn't.
What's the date that we're doing on that?
Be Tuesday the 3rd.
Be the first Tuesday, our normal meeting, we just gotta have the special public hearing. We have to post it and have a public hearing before we approve it, because we have to approve it in the November meeting. So, to me, if anybody has major questions or major dilemmas with the budget, we need to know that in the next week.
You need to let me know.
Yeah, because we'd
ASAP.
have to schedule a special meeting for us to go
Yep.
over it, so that we can have it ready for that night, because we have to get to our municipalities
Mhm.
in November.
Okay, what time are we having that meeting at?
Usually we do
6:30?
it at 6:30 for the public, and the regular meeting would be at 7.
Yeah,
I'll try to
half
be
an
here
hour.
by then.
Huh?
I'll try to be here by then.
Yeah. As long as we got a quorum, that's all that matters.
Yes, if there's something major pushed on there, obviously reach out to Chief, Barry, myself, one of us.
Will it?
Thanks, Ben.
Okay.
Otherwise, tomorrow Chief will get with Barb, clean this up, email everybody a pretty copy, if you will, with the currents and all that. Cool. Call me in the morning, I'll show you something on that.
Okay.
If we're good with the budget meeting, I'll make a motion to adjourn the budget meeting so we can go to the regular meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor with the motion that was made and seconded?
Aye.
Opposed? What time are you done?
7-Eleven. 7-Eleven.
Oh, yes, it is.